Hello, welcome back to my channel. My name is Eva, and on this channel, we talk about living the higher heart way. So this is all about soul remembrance and creating with your soul in your business and your life, connecting to the divine and living in a way that feels true for you, because that is the greatest gift that you can give yourself. So today I want to talk about deeper healing. Now, we're in an age where mental health is a big theme, and it makes so much sense that in the past we have not really explored a lot of mental health. We even have some generations that feel taboo to express their inner thoughts and what has happened in the family and things like that. So with all this stuff coming to the surface, it makes sense that we're looking at these deeper layers, and people are feeling a sense of wanting to show up, to be their best self, to have more harmony within their being. But we have to realize that we are not just a mental being. We don't just have our mind. We have our energy body. We have our physical body. And we also have a soul. We have our spiritual body. And so in order to have harmony, it's when we're aligning all of these together, when we're nourishing ourselves on all of these levels. I've been on this path for the last 8 years. I had my spiritual awakening 8 years ago, and I want to talk about, we're going to touch on some talk therapy, what I think talk therapy can help with, and then when I feel like you should go deeper than talk therapy, and then what are some deeper approaches to healing. So this isn't going to be bashing talk therapy. I think that it definitely has its place, so I'm not telling anyone to stop going to their therapist. Also, anything in this video, quick disclaimer, is just my own experience that I'm sharing and my own beliefs, so please do not take this as any professional advice for you in your life. You're responsible for your own experience. But what I feel that talk therapy is helpful for is the beginning exploration of what has happened to you. I think talk therapy is a great gateway for people to start opening up and to get more comfortable with sharing what has happened to them and how they're truly feeling, because a lot of times we're afraid to look inside, let alone tell someone else what's going on inside. So opening up and letting someone be there with you as you explore what has happened, I think is the first step in any personal development and improvement journey. Now, where I feel like it's kind of out of scope of talk therapy and where you might want to start exploring something deeper is if you feel like you're constantly talking about the same things with your therapist. If you kind of feel like you're just stuck in the same pattern, you're noticing the patterns, you're able to identify them, but then you're not really getting anywhere past that, because what talk therapy is it's exploring it, but on the conscious level. So when your mind is awake and aware, that's your conscious level and state. And a lot of the stuff that's happening is actually subconscious and maybe connected energetically to past lives, to your inner child, to ancestors. We have been exploring how trauma can be generationally passed down. It lives in our DNA. It can be stored in our nervous system. And so exploring these other parts of us as a human is really important, especially if there is patterns and themes that show up that you know you want to break and you want to pave a new path forward. So one of the things that I like to share with people is emotion alchemy. And this is basically where you begin to work with your emotions in this new way. You start to identify what you are feeling, and you work with the emotions on the energy level instead of always trying to talk about it on the mental level. So when you're just talking about it, you're bringing the awareness to it, but then you're not really doing anything with it. And you might feel a temporary sense of relief, but you have to actually give yourself permission to truly feel the emotion, because the way that emotions operate in our system is that they are just energy passing through, just like the clouds in the sky. When you look up at the sky, there isn't a single cloud that is there from yesterday or from the night before. The clouds are constantly moving. That's how emotions are actually designed to be processed through our body. If you notice young kids or animals, they have a great sense of processing energies, and they're innately able to do this, but we're taught to suppress this in order to be appropriate. So we don't really allow ourselves to do it. But then once we learn about this, we realize how important this is for our well-being, for our emotional state, to make sure that we have good energetic hygiene. And that is by feeling the emotion. And the way that I like to teach my clients to do this is, so you would bring up a scenario that has recently activated a certain emotion for you. So I'm going to just think of one and kind of walk you through how I would do this. So I have my scenario, and now I'm going to identify what emotion do I feel. So I feel unsupported. So now I'm going to sit here and ask myself, where in my body do I feel this energy that is connected to this sense of being unsupported? And the more you do this, you'll be able to identify it much quicker than when you first start doing this. So if it takes some time in the beginning, have grace with yourself. But I feel it right at the bottom, right at the base of my throat. So now I'm going to ask myself, does this feeling of being unsupported have a texture or a color or a shape? How am I feeling it? And to me, it just feels like this flat, kind of like something covering like a tube. And that is my way of releasing. I yawn a lot. Really trust your body in this process. If you feel the need to scream or shake or yawn, sometimes people will burp too. Really let your body release however it feels, and don't judge yourself or your body. When you bring awareness to something that you've been kind of avoiding or haven't really sat with, then sometimes it brings up a lot. So then I would sit with this unsupported feeling. You can see just by being with it, just bringing my awareness to the base of my throat, it is already releasing. And another thing I like to guide my clients to do is to breathe into it. So whatever shape or texture you feel it as, you're just going to breathe into it. So you're going to envision the air that flows into your spot where you feel it. And if you want, you can place your hand there just to give like a physical signal that you feel it, that you're there with it. And as you exhale, you're going to envision parts of it releasing. So the inhale is breathing in that life force energy, bringing that down to that area. And then the exhale is releasing pieces of it. Hey guys, Editing Eva here. I just want to hop in and give an additional tip here that, especially when you do this the first few times, I would highly recommend going really slow. If you're not used to doing somatics or energy healing, then slowing it down is going to really help you be present and allow yourself to really feel what it is you're feeling in your body. Don't get up in your head around the story of what's going on. The focus here is really going to be in the body, to be paying attention to what sensations and feelings you're having in the body. And now you're going to want to do this until you feel like it is completely gone. Whatever shape, whatever texture or feeling, you want it to be completely cleared. Everyone wants to stop before they have reached it as completely cleared. And I think it's because people start to feel some relief and then they're like, oh, that's so much better. I didn't even know that I could feel so good with that spaciousness there. But I promise you, it's worth it to sit with it just for a few more minutes. This practice usually only takes tops 10 to 15 minutes for one emotion. The more you do it, the more clear you're going to be, and then the less stuff you'll have. One disclaimer I do want to share with this practice: this does not mean you're never going to feel emotions ever again. This just means that you are taking the time to process the energy, the things that you didn't process in the moment. And you're taking the time to be with that energy, allow it to release, to allow it to be that cloud in the sky, just passing through, floating through. We don't want any stuck clouds. The more that you do this practice, it will also support with your connection to your intuition and higher self. So when you don't have emotional energy that is blocking your connection to your intuition, you're able to hear your guidance and support more clearly. So by doing this practice, you're also helping clear that channel of your higher self and intuition. And if you feel like something has been blocking that connection, you can always ask yourself what energies or emotions in or around your body have been blocking that connection, and then do the same practice, breathing in through the nose, going to that area where you feel that energy or emotion, and then breathing out, clearing it away. If you want to work with other elements, fire, water, air, earth, surrendering it to the earth, that's also another thing you can try and see how you feel about your connection. And if you want me to do more videos on connecting to intuition and how to do that, that's something I work with my clients. I've been working with clients for the past 4 years doing this kind of work, and I love it. It's really beautiful to witness. I'm happy to answer your questions, so drop your questions down below and I will create a video answering those and supporting you. All right, so we talked about the emotional side. Now let's talk about the subconscious. There's a few different ways to access your subconscious, but the subconscious basically houses beliefs that you've picked up along the way of your journey. Some of the beliefs might not even be yours. You might have just accepted them because of the person who is sharing that belief with you, especially if it's a parent, a teacher, someone you really looked up to as you were growing up. And sometimes too, it's beliefs that you've created in moments that you were trying to make sense of the world, and you created a belief usually about yourself and the world or other people that can be very disempowering. And one of the ways that I work with my subconscious is through hypnotherapy. So I am trained as a hypnotherapist and have done RTT and hypnotherapy on myself. I've also received it from other practitioners. And this is basically working with your inner child and helping rewire and heal those moments where you created that belief, going back to the root of that. And also sometimes past lives come up. Past lives are just that connection to another version of you in another timeline that exists simultaneously as this one. And when you help that version of you in that one, you help the version of you here too. And sometimes it's also ancestral. So I've also done more of the ancestral healing, working to understand where that belief originated, whether it's the mother's or father's side of the lineage, and then working with that ancestor together to create healing and more harmony in the lineage and for yourself and your life. Basically, is all like inner liberation work. And that's what I really love to support people with. And it's very expanding to your soul to do this type of work, to be the cycle breaker, and to have the courage to walk this path, because it's not for the faint of heart. Another way to work with the subconscious is through theta healing, and I have a dear friend, Robin, who offers theta healing. I will drop her YouTube and contact info down in the show notes so you can reach out to her if you are interested in doing theta healing. It's just another modality to work on the subconscious level, and I personally have been really loving using constellations framework from Family Constellations by Dr. Bert Hellinger, working with the constellation to show us and bring up to the surface what the subconscious pattern is, what the dynamic is in the lineage. So I've been infusing that into my work and really loving it. All right, now let's talk about the body. So one of the things that I learned is that our body needs to be part of our healing process. We can't just work on our energy. We can't just work on our mindset. We have to have a somatic piece. We have to involve our body so that we can actually feel safe, so we can expand our capacity, so our nervous system is receiving the new information, so that we're rewiring our nervous system to feel safe and expansive instead of contracted and fearful all the time, because that's the part of us physically that is connected to that. Also, our fascia system. I actually dove really deep into the fascia in the last few months, and I will link some resources down below if you're interested to dive into that rabbit hole for yourself. I'm not a fascia expert, but I do believe that the fascia is the physical system in our body that is actually connected to our energetic body and communicating between the energy and our nervous system and letting us know what's going on. It's very intelligent, our body. There's a lot of wisdom. It's ancient. If you think about it, it's evolved through so many years to get to what it is today. And it holds on to memory. It can hold on to generational stuff. It can hold on to things from childhood. It can pick up on things. Like if you walk into a room after two people have fought, you don't have to know what happened, but you can feel things just by being present and just by taking the time to slow down and to notice. Our body processes in different ways. You can think of how our body processes through breath, sound, movement, and touch. So moving your body, holding yourself, a lot of somatic work. I will link YouTube channels for somatics down below. I'll link my favorite breathwork channel, sound healing. But our body is a combination of so many things. It's got electricity through our thoughts. It's got magnetism through our emotions. And I think we're still learning what all it means to be a human. But one thing that we are learning is the intelligence that runs through our body. We have a spirit too that is living inside this body. And so how do we have harmony within ourselves? It's by nourishing ourselves on all these different levels. So one of the best things that I have done in this last year is really gotten into the habit of nourishing myself on a physical level by giving myself that movement in the morning, by taking the time to release tension, to support my body in detoxing, to support my body in processing stuff that has gotten stuck, emotions and energies. I highly recommend to explore it too. If you feel curious about it, I recommend testing it out and just seeing how you feel. You will only know the difference if you try it. If you give somatics, for instance, a chance and see how you feel after a few weeks of doing it. Stay consistent and then see if it makes a difference for you. Maybe it won't. Maybe that's not what you need at this season of your life, but give it a chance. And the worst that will happen is you stay where you're at and nothing changes. But if something does change and it does support you, then now you have another tool in your toolbox to support you to nourish yourself on a different level than what we're taught. Because we're all taught to eat healthy and exercise and do all these things, but there's so much more nuance that comes into taking care of our body. And for me, a big part of that has been working with the nervous system. And the more that I explore the nervous system, the more it makes so much sense why I have certain trauma responses and why I have certain patterns that show up because of the information that is being stored in my nervous system. So one thing that I will say when it comes to energy healing, nervous system work, regulation, all these are practices. And anyone who tells you that it's a one and done, I would be very discerning with something like that being said. Because anyone that I know who walks their talk, and what I can share with you from my actual lived experience is that my healing has not been one and done. Not with money, not with family stuff, not with my business, not with receiving, not with abundance, not with human relationships. All of that stuff has been a journey, each single one of those. And it's a practice of meeting parts of yourself, sitting with yourself time and time and time again. But what I can promise you is if you pursue the journey of healing, if you are interested in blossoming into the best version of yourself and going on that journey of actually shifting on an identity level and becoming the version of you that you feel is true to you, that you feel is your soul being expressed through your humanness, I promise you growth and being that person and living in that way is so worth it, even though it is challenging, even though it will push you outside of your comfort zone. And it's a practice. Thank you so much for joining me. Please drop comments of requests down below. I love talking about all this stuff, so I'm happy to dive deeper on anything that you're curious about and share my actual lived experience. I'm not just talking from nowhere. This is actually what I've experienced and what I have really deeply been exploring in the last 8 years of my life. I will link all those resources down below. And I just want to thank you for being here. Thank you for your presence. Thank you for joining me on this journey. And if you're looking for a community of people who are interested in living from their hearts and speaking the language of the soul, I invite you to consider Mystical Heart Collective. It is my community online. We are a global community. We have some beautiful people in there, and we're all about growing together, learning from each other, and living from our hearts. We talk intuition, healing. We come together and actually actively do healing and connect with one another, like true connection, not just networking. We actually share from our hearts and are there for each other and support one another. So if you are looking for a space where you can be your authentic self and share parts of your journey that maybe you're not able to share with people around you, then I invite you to check out Mystical Heart Collective. I will have it linked below. And thank you for joining me in this video, and I hope to see you in the next one.